Hey, hi everyone. My name is Andre. Thank you so much for attending this session today. I'm here to talk about resume writing. Please allow me to share screen with you so that all of you can see what I'm referring to now. Okay, I only have about 30 minutes, so I'll make it brief to compare a little bit of what resume writing is about. What's new in resume writing? Now, before I begin, I'd like to talk about something about me. Okay, in case you're wondering who I am. My background should be quite interesting to many of you. I was an executive recruiter, or what you call a headhunter, for the last close to almost 30 years actually. I was a chief executive of a team of 60 people working across Singapore, Hong Kong, KL, and Shanghai. Now, I promise you that in my career, I've gone through that many resumes, that many million interviews, and that many thousand placements. We were recruiting not just across Singapore and in Asia, but also in Europe, in the US, Russia, even Africa. Yeah, so we were doing worldwide recruitment over the last 28 years. That's a very, very long time. You will also see that I graduated with a psychology degree and I completed my doctorate in management. So a lot of my psychological applications are in business and management. The other interesting thing about me is I've worked in SMEs, I've worked in listed public MNCs, I've also worked in public sector, and I've also set up my own business. So right now in my role as a coach and a trainer, I can safely say I can share with a lot of my job seekers perspectives from their point of view, but also from the employer's point of view, both sides, two points of view. I think that's very, very valuable. Yeah. So please allow me to download whatever I can to you today in my experience in running a recruitment business in Asia for the last 30 years. Okay. The next slide will show you what I'm going to cover today. Like I mentioned, today's time is very short, but I'll try to give you the crux of it, and I hope you will enjoy what I have to share. I will go through, first of all, types of resumes. It's good to know. Never mind, I'll talk about it a bit later. The second point I'll cover is the analysis of job descriptions. Now, everyone, this is extremely critical in your analysis of job descriptions. I will again explain why later and how this helps your resume writing. There's a lot more research that you need to do, everyone. There's really a lot of research you have to do, okay? And what is it? I'll share with you once again a bit later, yeah? And finally, but not least, transferable and specialized skills. This is probably, to me, the most interesting and the hardest area to achieve in the modern day resume writing, because many of you are thinking of changing industries, I'm sure. Even if you're not, you still need to understand what are your transferable and specialized skills. You need to put it down in your resume. So these are the 4 areas I'm going to cover with all of you in the next 20-25 minutes. So now, what types of resumes? I'm sure many of you are familiar with resume writing, right? I don't need to go through one by one. But what are the traditional resumes, We all know chronological, we all know functional. In case you don't know what are these 2 areas, right? I will go through an example with you later. Basically, a chronological resume is something that goes through from the latest job to the earliest job. Likewise, from your latest education to your first education. So in a way, that's what you call a reverse chronological order. Yeah. A functional resume is one that enables you to highlight the skills that's relevant to the job. So the emphasis is on the skills, not so much of where you work. I'll go through a little bit later with you, but you can probably find a lot of information on this nowadays on the internet through Google or something. Yeah, but at least they're traditional resumes. There's nowadays something called PowerPoint resumes. What is PowerPoint resumes? I'll go through that in a while. And finally, there's something called a resume. I think this is like a combo word between a resume and a video, right? So basically now it's quite popular. Employers request job seekers to send in a video resume. This is not easy, but with COVID, everything is virtual nowadays. So resumes are going to be quite important in our lives moving on if you're doing a job search. It's not an easy way to prepare a resume, but it does take practice. And I think you might as well start now. If you're not ready, you never know when you might need it. Let me go through them one by one now. Traditional resume, you all remember, this slide will show you there are usually seven standard headers that you put in your resume, correct? Usually we will list down these topics, and you can find these 7 headers in the template, in your Microsoft Word. You can find them anywhere. So by listing them down, the difference between a functional resume and a chronological one is basically, in a chronological one, the emphasis is less on core skills. If you see my arrow on the slide, the emphasis is less on core skills for a chronological resume. And if you're going to the same industry, you can use a chronological resume. But in a functional resume, which means that you may be changing industries, you will highlight the core skills a lot more. So the third header here in your resume will need to be extensively written. Okay, very important, extensively written. Now, there are plenty of workshops going on right now that will explain a little bit more chronological and functional resume, so I won't waste anybody's time further. But since this is a resume writing workshop, I just felt this is important for all of you to understand. Okay, there's still a lot of employers who go through the traditional route, so this is still very relevant. The other more interesting points that now people use, nowadays what they use, are PowerPoint resumes. I'm sure many of you have done PowerPoint presentations before, yeah? Many of you. So to prepare a PowerPoint slide, like the ones you're seeing now, we have to be very concise with our words. We have to go straight to the point. We have to crystallize our skills. So if you are able to produce a PowerPoint resume, you will be able to be very clear and crystallize skill set, what you want the employer to know about you. Now, I purposely blurred this slide a little bit because of privacy issues, but you will notice that this gentleman here emphasized awards, personality, interest, and even social media as one of his key selling points. Maybe the job he's applying for is social media. This next example will look more like a traditional resume you might find, but you notice John Smith is also trying to highlight in as succinct and concise words as he can his professional skills, his work experience. If you are able to compress your skills, your key selling points into a PowerPoint slide, I promise you, well done. Means you're very clear about why they should hire you. What are your key skills? But if you make it very wordy, the employers will feel very bored. Okay? So these are examples of PowerPoint resumes. If you have a chance to go through them with me again as a coach, I'll be very happy to spend more time to help you crystallize what your skills are. I want to move on to the next one, which is resume. As I mentioned, a resume is another form of resumes people use nowadays. I've got a video prepared for you, which basically is much easier for them to explain rather than me verbalizing what exactly is a resume. There are very useful tips shown in this video. Please allow me to play this video for you, and then later we can discuss a bit further, okay?
How to create a video profile. Here are a few common mistakes.
Hi, my name is Shazri. So I graduated university with a double major in marketing and public relations. So I'm looking for a role in marketing. I think, I feel like I'm a creative person. I will be graduating. Well, I have graduated, and now I'm looking for a role in, it could be in. So, if my profile fits the type of candidate that you're looking for, then please do give me a call, and I'll be excited to meet with you.
Here are a few things to take note of before recording. Firstly, make sure you choose an appropriate background. Secondly, make sure you use a high quality microphone and camera. And finally, make sure you dress appropriately. Here's an example video profile we made earlier.
Hi, my name is Shazri and I'm a recent graduate from the National University of Singapore, majoring in marketing, and I'm now looking for my first career opportunity to work with a reputable company which allows me to grow both as an individual and as an employee. Now, throughout my undergraduate, I was actually involved in Animal Lovers Society in NUS, and by the second year I actually held the chair, which actually provided me with a platform to learn and grow at a much more rapid pace. I was consistently faced with different challenges at different times, which taught me to be a lot more adaptive, flexible and versatile. Now I enjoy meeting people of different backgrounds, different cultures, which has always been a passion of mine. I've been blessed to have been able to travel to countries such as Australia, China, Japan, Indonesia and Spain. It really broadens my perspective of the world when I get to see varying cultures and the way in which they carry out their duties, and which allows me to broaden my perspective and bring new ideas to the table every time. To sum up who I am in one phrase, it's always curious. Now, if you're looking for a focused, enthusiastic individual with a can-do attitude, then I'm your candidate. If you'd like to know more about me, then please check out my CV, or you can get in touch with my details shown below.
Here are 7 takeaway ideas. First, keep it within 2 minutes. Speak slowly and clearly. Keep eye contact with your camera. Be creative and think outside the box. Point out your key achievements and skill sets that you want the employers to focus on. And finally, show that you have confidence, that you're enthusiastic, and most importantly, remember to smile. So why wait? Upload your video profile to gradgreenhouse.com today.
Okay, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. But basically, a resume is something I think is going to be the new normal after COVID. Yeah, I think we all would probably have to get used to recording ourselves on video like what the guy did. So I hope you learned a few tips there on resume. I'm going to move on now to the next 2 points because we still have 2 more points to go, right? Time is running out already. Okay, analyzing job descriptions. I mentioned this earlier on, everyone. It is extremely important for you to analyze a job description before you start crafting your resume, please. So many of us, when we see a job advertisement or job role, we just look through it within 5 seconds. We more or less think we know what is it, and we start sending out a resume or we start to prepare a resume. My honest advice to all of you is please don't. The more time you spend looking at these points of the job description, the more effective will be your resume. So now, resume writing is not about resumes and PowerPoint resumes and all that. A lot of it is there's a change in the way how you present the content of your resume. Remember, resume writing is storytelling, basically. The better you are in telling the story, the better you are, the high chances rather, of you getting a job or interview. And the story you tell basically needs to tell the employer, why should I hire you? So when you go through job descriptions, you have to go through these 3 points extremely in a lot of detail, right? Meticulously here. You need to understand the company. You need to understand the job responsibilities. You need to understand the person requirements. Ask why. Why do they want this job responsibilities, as the first job? role. Why are they requiring this? Why are they not? You need to go and analyze and understand. Now, I've got really plenty of examples to share with you. I apply for jobs too, to share with you. Yeah, and some of the research I do is I actually ambush current employees working in that company to do a 5-minute question and answer session to find out about the company, about the job role, what is expected of them, and what are the things they like and dislike about the job. So my research encompasses a lot more work than just reading the job description. Again, I'll be very happy to share with you my experiences and provide coaching if any of you want to see me. You can email me, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, that's my email address. Yeah, but in the for the sake of time, I don't really have I don't have the luxury of time to go through all this with you. But generally, you'll know what I mean, yeah? About analyzing job descriptions. Spend as much time as you can in analyzing a job description because it will be worth the effort. More research. What do you mean by that? Now, this point is actually related to the previous slide about analyzing job descriptions. Basically, more research means you have to do more research about the company, about the job responsibilities, about the personal requirements. So to give you some kind of idea of the framework that you need to follow, and I'm sure many of you know this, you can use a SWOT and a PESTLE approach to analyzing and doing research for a job. I'm sure many of you know what's a SWOT, right? The strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. What are the strengths of the company? What are the weaknesses faced by the company? The opportunities faced by the company? The threats faced by the company? Are you able to find out? PESTLE, another point of PESTLE. Do you know what PESTLE means? P stands for political, E, economic, S, social, T, technology, L, legal, E, ethical. Yeah, or some people know. Okay, for whatever version you know. You notice whether you use a SWOT or PESTLE, it guides you through to do a very, I'm going to go back to the previous slide now. It guides you through how to analyze the job descriptions. Because using a SWOT and a PESTLE will guide you through the amount of research you need to do before you write your resume. This is an extremely important point, ladies and gentlemen. If there's any takeaway you have from today's session, please make this your most important takeaway. Yeah? Using SWOT and PESTLE. My final point is, of course, I think, to me, probably the most important element of writing a good resume. How to identify your transferable skills. How to identify what are my core skills. Now, many of you might come from different industries, but all of you may have certain basic core skills, which are actually, those are your transferable skills. Or, in other words, your core skills are the key skills you have that's relevant to the job. So if you're not able to identify what your key skills are in your resume, you know what? Your storytelling will fail. You will not be able to convince the employer, why should I hire you? That's the honest truth. So to do that, you need to be able to identify what are your core skills. And the best way to do that is using the skills framework resource. You know, I put asterisk here is because I can spend 2 days with you going through skills framework. You know, it's really so detailed and so comprehensive. But using this skills framework, you will be able to identify your core skills. And we can cover any industry you come from, close to 40 different industries that we can go through. So this is something really powerful and very important to prepare yourself in writing an effective resume. So please remember, ladies and gentlemen, transferable skills or core skills, same thing, versus specialized skills. Yeah, it's extremely important for you to identify your core skills, your transferable skills. Specialized skills are usually technical skills, which you can pick up. right? You can go through training and then you get your specialized skills, no problem. But the core skills are what we call foundational skills. So those are basic skills that you must have. And that's what you will use in your resume, in your interview. I provide one-to-one coaching, like I mentioned to you, and a lot of training. So, like I mentioned to you earlier on, if you want to find out more, email me. My email is at the bottom of your screen. I'll be very happy to guide you along. Besides this, we're coming to the end now, yeah, close to 30 minutes. There's plenty of other things I'd like to share, but you just don't have the time. You know, when I conduct proper training, they can last a few days sometimes. But what are the areas I want to talk about? I want to talk about downgrading. You know, some of us are very good at what we do. We're very senior, but maybe you want a slightly lower pace of life. So how do you do it? Not easy, but it can be done. We also have the perennial problem of expected salary and salary issues. I can spend a few days going through that with you as a coach as well. Many of us, I think, are also handling the issue of age. I'm sure many of you are very experienced and very senior, and we constantly have this barrier that we face age discrimination. So how to handle the issue of age in your resume, in your interview. And of course, besides that, I mean, getting hired by younger managers, you know, how to handle the millennial generation, who are the future of our society. So many things I want to talk to you, but I don't have the time. But I just want to give you a brief outline of what are the areas that I cover, so that if you're interested in finding out more, please come to see me, keep in touch with me. These are some of our specialized workshops that Quest Institute cover. You know, we do a cover letter and resume. I usually provide very unusual interview tips, to be honest. My success rate for interview coaching has so far been about 100%, which means that every person I coach for a successful interview usually gets a job offer. Yeah, I'm quite happy and proud of that. Of course, salary negotiation is another important point, and career coaching. I think many of us have very different circumstances. So I think a one-to-one career coaching is probably a very effective way of handling something. And of course, employer training. You know, we always talk about job seekers, ladies and gentlemen, but I find that many employers are equally not well trained in interviewing or in reading resumes or even writing job descriptions. So at Quest Institute, I do train employers how to get about being good recruitment people as well. So that ends my presentation. I know it's very rushed, but I hope I've given you sufficient brief tips to get on with it with your resume writing. If you're interested in keeping in touch and getting further help from me, you know who I am. This is Andre. That's my email address. You can reach me anytime, and I'll be very happy to share with you and help you along your journey. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining me in today's session. I hope you enjoyed what we had to talk about. All the best. Bye-bye.